Today at What the Heck is Happening in HR, we're welcoming David Hill. David is the Director of Sales and Marketing for USF Office of Corporate Training and Professional Education. David has a very interesting background. He's been here at USF for some time, for a few years now, but prior to that, he actually was in jewelry and in diamonds, and a really interesting background, which he'll be sharing with us. He does have his MBA from here at USF at Muma College of Business, and his Bachelor of Science is from University of Florida, and it's in marketing. He also has, as they say, kind of eat your own dog food in the world, in that he has taken some of the classes which he offers. One of them is the Leadership Enrichment for Mid-Level Leaders program, given here through USF CTPE. So we are happy to welcome David Hill here to What the Heck is Happening in HR. For our podcast disclaimer, please visit the episode description. David, thanks so much for being here today. I'm thrilled to be able to chat with you.
Good morning, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So one of the things we pride ourselves on the podcast is giving people a little entertainment, a little education, a little inspiration. But one of the things I really like to share are resources. And I thought that I'm not even sure all the resources we have anymore. We certainly know USF from the amazing degrees, the colleges, the impact on the community, being one of the top U.S. Universities in the nation. I mean, we're just blessed to have it in the community. But then we have USF CTPE, which is Corporate Training and Professional Education, and it's undergone its own growth and evolution. So I want to be sure that those corporate trainers out there, the HR people who aren't sure where to go, what's available, I want to be sure they know. And so I appreciate you coming in today to talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure, Kelly. And, the myriad of resources that are available to folks in those roles, it could be daunting, right? So where do you begin? Obviously, you'd want to start with a major metropolitan university like USF, and especially with the trajectory of the university over the past several years. We continue to grow leaps and bounds, and our grasp within the community is growing and our engagement is growing. And that's really benefited our office in particularly when Dr. Eisenberg brought our group in the lifelong learning model into university community partnerships. Our exposure to the greater Tampa Bay community has really blossomed. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of highlight what we already provide as services. I feel like over the past several years, we've been one of the best kept secrets for organizations. As you see a broader shift in the labor market to a skills-based hiring, well, then how are you fostering that within your existing workforce? And then how are you using that to guide your decision-making and hiring moving forward? I feel like that's a pivotal role that we play in the training and professional education courses that we provide.
Yeah. And I've noticed in my classes, we have people from all over the place. I've had Hawaii, I've had New Zealand, I've had Switzerland, I think was in the house. So I think there's the reach is, especially for these programs and our virtual programs, is even much greater. So let's get into some details. Talk to me about what we would have to offer. If I'm an HR person and I need some help in some training, I call your office, I email you, I go to your website. What do you have?
Yeah, if you go to our website initially, you have the opportunity to set up a call with either myself or another member of my sales team, and we try to provide a needs assessment where we're looking for the skills gaps you're trying to address with your team. And it runs the gamut, really. If you take our existing portfolio of courses that are available to open enrollment students, that body of work is available for organizations if they have a particular topic that aligns with their current needs. So take, for example, your HR law class that you teach for us, Kelly. We had an organization reach out recently that is interested in upskilling their team who works across international markets on what the current labor trends are as it pertains to the law here in the U.S. and how they can interact with that. So, that's one particular facet. But We break it down into the styles of engagements that we can provide based on the existing course portfolio we have. So if you go to our website, you'll see we do project management, we do process improvement, we have an incredible HR program. We are number one in the US for SHRM Essentials enrollments, which we're very proud of. We provide some other services that aren't listed on the website, but in order to not overwhelm our clients, we try to have that needs assessment so we know that the symptom they're reporting can be addressed with one of the solutions that we have available. So typically what we look at it in terms of engagements would be we can do things in a workshop format, which is really 2 to 3 hours, and where they're socializing a topic with your organization. If it's an issue that needs to be addressed and brought up and maybe brought to the surface so that the
Mm-hmm.
organization can discuss it internally, workshops are great ways to do that. It's also something we can enrich offsite events with and bring in some external points of view on a topic that would be helpful. We did that last month with a group down at SOCOM for a leadership training that they were trying to develop internally. And so we kind of enriched that experience for them. But also, we had the Florida Department of School Superintendents who had all their administrative assistants attending with the school superintendents, and they wanted some tips on how to leverage AI in their daily work and
Hmm.
be more efficient. So we provided a customized workshop for that format as well.
Those can be live or those can be virtual?
Those can be live, they can be virtual. My preference is maybe I'm a little old school like this, and you might feel the same way. I prefer those kinds of engagements to be in person because there's a lot of benefit to that social interaction that occurs. Also, I feel like the Q&A session you get from a live group as opposed to an online course, it's a little bit more beneficial to everybody in the room.
Well,
Um,
you just need to do more virtual
yeah,
classes. We have a pretty darn good virtual
Yeah, and there's
classes.
nothing
So,
wrong with virtual as well. That's just me leaning on what's
yeah,
always
well,
worked for myself
absolutely. You can
particularly.
have the energy from the room, and that's always great.
Absolutely. And so in addition to the workshops, we've also got, our individual course offerings. If you look at our HR certificate, it's comprised of 10 individual courses. If you look at your HR team and say, you know what, we really need some enrichment on business acumen, you could take one of those courses and we
Hmm.
can run it specifically for your group. And again, that could be in a format that's either live in person on site at your location or here on campus, or we could do that virtually. I find today in pretty much everybody has some component of a hybrid workforce,
Hmm.
that live online instruction is a great tool for them to be able to reach everybody and not disrupt their daily workflow. So that's an option as well. And then we have complete certificate courses. If you look at our project management course, where we're taking you through a series of 3 courses that are providing you the instruction on how to actually achieve project management excellence within your organization. It gives you the tools at each step and they compound on one another so that when you come out of that, you know how to effectively execute project management within your organization.
Okay.
And within each one of these engagements, we're trying to take your industry, whatever it might be, and bring in real world examples, leveraging real world practitioners so that it has more validity and fidelity for the work when you go back to the office the next day. So we can tailor the content so that it's specific to your organization.
Yeah.
Obviously, what we're going to provide for Amazon's global fleet group in a process improvement engagement is going to differ from what we're doing for LifeNet Health, which is the largest tissue bank on the East Coast of the United States. They're both looking for the same program, but we're going to have different customized facets within that program so that it aligns specifically with their
Okay.
needs.
So it is tailored. I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love the applicability of our programs. I get it when I'm teaching. I love how the students will come back. I mean, our classes are 4 nights over for the HR program over 2 weeks, and yet they'll come back to the very next class. And I'm expecting this week as I'm teaching one of them, and let me know what they've done. Oh, I put this in place. Oh, I checked my I-9s. Oh, I looked at our offer letter. Oh, I put our posters up. Oh, I checked. And they are already putting it in place because they understand what it is and understand the value of what it is we bring. So we have some programs where if I just want to be developed, I want to explore some other career option, we can do that. Or as a person in charge of corporate training, I can do that. Um, I can reach out to you to get something to supplement perhaps what we do internally. I mean, how long are those generally? If it's is it can you do a completely tailored leadership for us class versus like the project management certificate?
It really varies, Kelly, and that'll depend. That kind of goes into the fourth component as how we can approach things as well. We can do a customized course specifically based on requests from an organization, and this um, actually occurred for us recently. And we have a class that's going to be taking place at the end of this month for a group that we met during one of our HR Tampa meetings,
Okay.
which I'll be at next week, talking about our different programming. They had a specific leadership need within their organization, and I met with their vice president of HR about the leadership needs. We created a complete course specific to their industry and
Mhm.
specific to the challenges they're facing right now. And through a back and forth process of working with their HR leaders and the boots on the ground
Mhm.
and our instructor expertise that we have access to, we created a program for them. They wanted it to be in person, and they wanted it to be in short 4-hour groupings so
Okay.
that we could work through their current on-site schedule for
Mhm.
a hybrid workforce, and that's how we're going to accomplish it. So we're really very flexible. I like to say yes is what I'm going to say to every question we get, and it's really at that point it's a matter of evaluating what resources we have available from the leadership team with our clients, and what depth of proficiency they're looking to achieve through that training. And obviously, depending on what it might be, leadership's a little bit harder to create something sticky. But when we have take disciplines like project management or Lean Six Sigma, which we're very successful with,
Mhm.
we know that we're going to have a successful training, which means your individual who comes to that will have a new process set that they didn't possess before, and they'll be able to utilize it immediately. And I think that's kind of it underscores the shift in the way our office has been viewed over many years. Continuing ed in this space of engaging folks when they're postgraduate, it was always seen as a competition towards degree seeking students. And
Mhm.
really, our argument has been, and I think it's now the current trends within the economy and workforce are underscoring this. We're a complement. It's not a matter of, okay, we're competing for the same individual. It's, well, they've learned a great skill set here during their
Mhm.
degree and their time at USF. But now they might need some refreshers. They might need to upskill or reskill. We might have things like artificial intelligence that's permeating every
Yeah,
facet of
no
business
doubt.
across the industries, that you're going to need to figure out a way. Well, how do I adapt this or modify my current business operations to include this in my current workflow? So that's kind of the niche that we're trying to fulfill in what we do. But obviously, our audience, it ranges in terms of people looking to make career pivots, people that are looking to add something on their resume to achieve that next level of promotion within their current organization,
Mhm.
or perhaps they're looking to take their skills, which is what I did. They're looking to enrich their resume so they can leave one industry and enter another. And that's sort of the genesis of how I came to this office.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about that. And we'll probably segue into a different topic, which I didn't even talk to you about. But I want to talk about your pivot. You did. And a lot of times people are successful in one area, they enjoy where they're working, and they don't want to leave. It's comfortable. So you don't have to share, the why unless you wish to. Obviously, you don't have to share anything unless you wish to. But I do want people to understand that you can have transferable skills that maybe you don't even know you have. How did you know you had transferable skills for something else?
I didn't, because I didn't know how to look at it, and this is actually
I'm surprising him, by the way,
this is a
everybody.
constant conversation that I have with, and we do a lot of engagements with our military folks down at SOCOM.
Mhm.
And we're very fortunate to have great working relationships with them. And I'll hear this from those military personnel that are exiting their professional military
Yep.
career and they're entering the private sector. And they'll say to me, David, I don't have these skills. And it's really a matter of reframing the knowledge and information that you currently have and putting it into a new language or lexicon for the private
Yep.
sector. And I have to explain to them all the time. Well, first of all, you guys are great hires for anybody because you arrive on time, you listen to orders, you understand what it means to be professional in the workplace, and you've got this huge basis of skills that you've learned. You're just thinking about it in military terms, not in the private sector. As soon as we illuminate the parallels that exist within
Yep.
that, it's like a veil is removed and they can suddenly see.
Yep.
And that kind of happened for me too. My career was interesting. I was a diamond dealer for about 15 years, and when folks hear that, they think, you're up in New York in the diamond district and you're in back rooms and things like that. But what I didn't realize until I finished my MBA and I started experiencing some of the courses that CTPE had available, and some of the courses that CTPE was helping promote for the university, like the DEI course and the post-crisis leadership course, was that I had all these other business skills that I had been utilizing and leveraging, but they didn't materialize on a resume. And so as I was trying to make a career pivot, and the purpose was, Kelly, which I'm always happy to talk about, I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I wanted to be home. I didn't want to be on the road.
And an amazing wife.
Yes, I have a
Okay.
beautiful wife, and I wanted to be home for my family and
Mhm.
not be on the road 2 or 3 times a month in airports with merchandise that exceeded my current net income times 10, and maybe getting trapped at a convention center in Las Vegas with a bag full of goods and not knowing how I was going to get that back. Didn't want to be in those
Right.
compromising
Yeah.
situations anymore. And it was through programs like what we offer at CTPE that kind of helped illuminate that career path forward. And I'm very thankful for that. And I feel like I'm a good advocate as a result of that, because if you look at taking those skills that I developed, and we were doing things like we were opening new store locations, we were evaluating new market opportunities, we were doing things both on the B2B segment and the B2C segment. So I had a vast exposure to
Mhm.
what it means to operate a business. I just didn't have a clear perspective on how I can communicate that to a hiring manager. And lo
Mhm.
and behold, CTP kind of gave me that skill set. And then I ended up selling myself to them. And here I am today.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks for sharing the pivot story. I appreciate that so much because I think as unfortunately the layoffs are coming, unfortunately, or are here, some of the changes that people are just not happy in the jobs that they move to, or maybe it's they just would like to try something else. I think people aren't sure how to do that. We're actually going to have a few podcasts about that and how to have that translation in languages. I found when I worked for a global company that we were moving people back and forth across the pond, if you will. And I remember I had a CFO come to me and say, I can't believe my controller just gave me his notice. He's only going to be here 2 weeks. And I went, okay, well, we'll get on it. And let's talk about it. And he was really upset. Well, he was from Europe and they were used to redundancies. He thought he would have 4 months notice and they weren't sure about it. And that set off an alarm in me because I thought, okay, wait a minute. We're not training for what the US law is. And in the UK, for instance, you can ask, how many days sick were you? What for? How come? And by the way, I'd rather have somebody who's 30. And so we can't do any of that here in the US. But we were setting the organization up for liability and we weren't doing anything about it. So we actually created a course for those people who were coming to the US to learn more about the US law so they didn't get in trouble. They could grow with the organization and not have that. So there are so many needs out there that sometimes we don't even know about. One of the other items we do have here at USF that I always like to give a plug to is the OSHA expertise that we have. It was noted many, many episodes ago by one of our brilliant attorneys who came on. And Philip Russell spoke about how important it is to use that OSHA resource that we have here at USF. So thanks so much, David, for sharing so much about the USF offerings.
It was my pleasure, Kelly. Thanks for having me.